Commissioner Goldman, can you hear us?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I will call to order the City of Laguna Beach Planning Commission meeting of April 16th, 2025. Before we begin, I just would like to note that Commissioner Goldman will be participating remotely tonight. And I've been asked, because whenever we open up the public hearing here in the chamber, technically wherever Commissioner Goldman is, if there's a member of the public who wishes to speak during public comment, they have to be given the opportunity at that point. So Commissioner Goldman, do you have any members of the public with you here tonight, tonight?
No, I searched the lobby and I found none.
Good, empty hotel. All right. May I have roll call, please?
Commissioner Goldman,
Here.
Commissioner Whiten,
Yes.
Commissioner Dubin,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Kellenberg,
Here.
Chair Sadler.
Here. Okay, before we begin our regular business, there's a point for public communications at the beginning of the meeting, and that's for any member of the public to speak to the Planning Commission on any item that's under our general purview, but not on tonight's agenda. Is there anybody who would like to make public comments tonight? Seeing none, we will move on to our consent calendar. And the consent calendar consists of the March 5th, 2025 Planning Commission draft minutes. Are there any members of the commission who would like to pull that item? Are there any members of the public who would like to pull that item? Seeing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I move that we approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Goldman,
Yes.
Commissioner Whiten,
Yes.
Commissioner Dubin,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Kellenberg,
Yes.
Chair Sadler.
Yes. All right, we'll move on to our regular public hearings tonight. And our first item is item 5.1. And that is a request for a temporary use permit. And Louis Lacasella will be providing our staff report on that item tonight.
Good evening, Chair, members of the Planning Commission, Louis Lacasa, Community Development Department. It's my pleasure to present item 5.1, a request for approval of a temporary use permit 250650 and coastal mountain permit 250652 for a proposed outdoor dining parklet located in the public right-of-way adjacent to 370 Glen Street. The applicant, Ulta Sushi, is requesting approval to install an outdoor dining parklet that would occupy 2 parking spaces on Mermaid Street on the side of the property. The parklet would be constructed to match the design of the existing parklets in the city and is proposed to be in the same location as the previous approved parklet used by the previous business at this site. The request includes a temporary use permit as mentioned and a coastal bound permit. Staff has reviewed the request and believes that all the required findings for both the permits can be made and that the project is consistent with the city's policy, zonings, and land use designation, and did want to call out that the site plan is attached to the agenda report, and it has the location of the tables and chairs, the umbrellas, the bench, and there are no heaters that are proposed to be used within the parklet. So that's mentioned as attached to the report. Staff has determined that the project is category exempt from CEQA, present to section 15304, class 4, minor alterations to land, and in the alternative, section 15301, class 1, existing facilities. And then also wanted to mention, staff has communicated to the applicant that the potential that this program is scheduled to sunset of January 1st of 2026. The applicant's been aware of that, but still wants to proceed with the parklet. And with that, staff recommends the Planning Commission by motion adopt the resolution included as attachment 1 of your packet, therefore approving the TUP and the CDP and finding the project exempt from CEQA. And with that, staff's happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Louis. Are there any commissioner questions for staff?
So go ahead.
Commissioner Goldman, go ahead.
Quick question. Any, because it's kind of a constrained area there, any comments or concerns by any of the neighboring businesses?
Staff did receive 1 letter of opposition from a local property owner that did raise the issue of traffic concerns associated with the parklet.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kellenberg.
So has there been any discussion with Public Works regarding any the concerns about traffic movement based on construction of the parklets?
There hasn't been any discussion with Public Works on this particular project. Staff did look to see that the previous restaurant that was there, Harley's, did have a parklet at that location, and we're not aware of any information that was made available because of that parklet that would lead us.
And that was there a couple of years.
Yes.
Yeah, and there was no like crash and burns or anything
That we're
occurred.
aware of. Yeah.
I'm just curious if under the current situation, can any restaurant in town just say, I want to have a parklet, and they automatically can get one?
So
Or is
not
there some
every-
are there some parameters around this benefit to do this?
So how the program is currently structured, if they're looking to have a parklet, there needs to be like in front of their business on the side. There needs to be nearby public spaces that can be utilized for the parklet. If there are private spaces that the restaurant has, that's part of the restaurant or part of the property owner that can be utilized for the program as well, that we've seen in the Canyon with the Hive and Laguna Beer Company. So private parking can be used for the outdoor dining program. Also, the public, as mentioned, for the parklet. That's the current requirements. Just need to be a business. The main use of the business needs to be dining. It can't be, for example, like a gym that's trying to add a juice bar. We've come across that and had some conversations with that. So the main use needs to be, a dining experience.
Louis covered that quite well. I'll just add that properties that abut Coast Highway may not be eligible. Parklets could not be approved within Caltrans right-of-way. That's state highway. Additionally, the program does have a cost associated with it, which is not subject to the Planning Commission's review, but that is something that applicants are made aware of upfront. We do charge a market rate for use of the city's right-of-way. In each of these applications, should an applicant choose to pursue a parklet, is subject to your discretionary review and approval. There is no guaranteed approval.
So just in addition, obviously the design of the parklet is going to be similar to the other ones around town. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
And the only question I had for kind of for clarification is, does the city, what's the city's policy? I mean, there, as you stated, there was a previous parklet in this location when Harley was there, that they went out of business and that remained vacant for some period of time. Is the city's policy that as soon as that place becomes vacant, that parklet then quickly has to be taken away?
Yeah, I know me and Anthony's had some conversations about this. So our understanding is that it runs with the land, the property owner. For example, as you can see, Wild Taco has moved out, but there's still a parklet there. So I think the determination will be made with the property owner and the new tenant coming in if they want to keep that, pay the fee, but it goes with the land. That's why I was a little surprised that the parklet was removed once the other restaurant left.
So
they probably should have.
So as far as the property owner basically requested that or acquiesced to that removal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lighting. Did you discuss with the applicant how lighting will be supplied? We have had some situations where cords are crossing sidewalks, which we didn't like to see.
Yeah, well, I'm pulling at the plans. I think it might be appropriate time for the applicant to maybe talk a little bit about if lighting is going to be used at all. I know we had some initial conversations on that.
Okay, and one other thing is, is the applicant aware that tables and chairs and umbrellas are permitted, but constructing other additions, attachments to the parklet itself is not permitted?
That's correct. The applicant understands that what's on this site plan, tables and chairs, that's why I clarified with the applicant that no heaters are going to be used. Everything needs to be identified during this meeting on this site plan. Nothing can come on later like canopies or anything like that. We can't be any additions without it coming back to PC.
Big flowers? I mean, no decorative things either? It really is just tables, chairs, and umbrellas?
We can confirm with the applicant if there was going to be any plants on there.
Staff's position would be if there was a little table setting, that's probably okay. Minor in nature, anything more substantial, freestanding, probably would be deemed inconsistent with this approval if this is the site plan that the Planning Commission approves this evening.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm trying to think, I think in some of the other parklets, we've had proposals for, full-blown trellises to go over the parklet. And then, but I believe I've seen other parklets around where somebody was trying to get lighting out there or something. So they would put up some thin poles or something in the corners of the parklet just to support string lights or something like that. Would that be allowed at this point, or would they have to come back in and ask for a modification for something like that? Is that a gray area?
It is a little bit of a gray area. I know Louis did have a lighting conversation with the applicant. I think probably best to pose that question directly to the applicant this evening. And if the Planning Commission wants to set specific parameters on lighting this evening, you certainly may do so.
Okay, thank you. No further questions from anybody? Okay, I will open it to the applicant. If the applicant would like to come forward, you can either sit at the table or stand at the podium, whatever you're more comfortable with. And if you could give us your name as you begin.
Ashley Sintis, the owner of Odo Sushi. And then regarding the any cords, we'll make sure that we don't, we'll try our best not to use anything that has cords and use either battery or solar power for if we do for any lighting. If we have to do any cords, we'll make sure that they're adhered to the sidewalk to make sure that they're not a tripping hazard and add any reflective lighting to them to make sure they're not a tripping hazard. But my goal is to not have to use any cords and just do solar or battery. And then for any additional lighting, like hanging lighting or any decor, we weren't planning on doing anything, just having it simple tables and chairs. I mean, we're a Japanese aesthetic, so we like to be very clean and simple as possible, but we'll go with whatever you guys think is best.
Okay, and the staff report pointed out that you're aware that this whole program sunsets, at the end of
Yes.
this year, okay? And that also, at this point, you're not asking for any heaters or anything
No.
like that, because other places are doing those, and, it's not that we wouldn't allow it. And even though this would only run through the end of the year, you may have some, and I'm not sure what your regular hours are. I mean, you're primarily open for dinner, correct?
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll be open for lunch. We're open for lunch right now on the weekends, and during the summertime business, we'll be open for lunch. But we close at 9 o'clock at night, and the goal right now is for business during the season time and not necessarily the worrying so much about the business during the winter time where we would need the heaters. So I understand that ends January 1st and that no heaters are fine too.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. And any other questions of the applicant from commissioners?
I would just reiterate having any kind of cording going across the sidewalk is probably going to be problematic. So
Yeah.
I would say any, lighting, solar or rechargeable battery driven lights would probably be preferable in that location.
Yes, agreed, definitely.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add?
No.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'll open it to the public. Are there any members of the public wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and commissioner comments. Commissioner Goldman, you want to start?
Yeah, I can make the findings on this and can support it. I think there is a little bit concerned. It is a congested area around there, but ultimately, I don't think the impact will be terribly detrimental, and it's for a short period of time in any event. So I can support the application.
Thank you. Commissioner Kellenberg?
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Goldman. I think the fact that this is really replacing something that was there previously makes this pretty straightforward.
Commissioner Whiten?
Yeah, I agree.
Commissioner Dubin?
Yeah, I'll be supporting it as well.
As do I. So good luck with it. And may somebody,
Need to vote.
yeah, may somebody make a motion.
I move we approve temporary use permit 25-0650 and coastal development permit 25-0652 and find said action exempt from CEQA.
Happy to second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Goldman,
Yes.
Commissioner Whiten,
Yep.
Commissioner Dubin,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Kellenberg,
Yes.
Chair Sadler.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Motion passes unanimously. We will move on to our item 5.2, which again is, this is a request for a CUP, a CDP, and a CEQA exemption for Aliso Creek Plaza, Golden Spoon. And as soon as you are ready, Sarah.
Thank you, Chair, and good evening, members of the Planning Commission. Item 5.2 is request for approval of conditional use permit and coastal development permit for the proposed frozen yogurt shop Golden Spoon. The project is located at the Aliso Creek Shopping Center in South Laguna in the commercial neighborhood zone. The subject suite is the prior Chase Bank and will be divided to create a 950 square foot space for Golden Spoon. I'd like to note that the use of the frozen yogurt shop is permitted by right in the commercial neighborhood zone, and the current request for a conditional use permit is for the accompanied shared parking study. The Aliso Creek Shopping Center contains approximately 83,000 square feet of commercial space consisting of 18 suites occupied by various uses. The site provides a total of 395 parking spaces, and the parking is governed by a shared parking study that was first approved in 2009 and then revised in 2011, 2018, and most recently in 2023 for Rapport Coffee Roasters. The conditional use permit before you tonight is for a revised shared parking study to facilitate the change of use from a bank to a frozen yogurt shop, a reduction from parking requirements as specified in the Laguna Beach Municipal Code may be allowed for mixed-use developments that have different peak hours of operation or intensity of uses subject to approval of a conditional use permit. The shared parking study prepared by RK Engineering Group has been peer-reviewed and approved by the city's internal consultant. The results of the study indicated that there will be sufficient parking available during the center's peak hours throughout the week with the addition of Golden Spoon. Approval of a coastal development permit is also required for the intensification of use where the prior use of a bank had a parking requirement of one space for every 250 square feet, and the proposed use of food service has a parking requirement of one space for every 100 square feet, or one space per 3 seats, whichever is greater. And in this case, the one space per 100 square foot ratio is more restrictive and was evaluated in the parking study. Overall, staff has found the proposed project to be consistent with the conditional use permit and coastal development permit findings and recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the attached resolution approving the conditional use permit and coastal development permit and finding said action exempt from CEQA. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions of staff at this point? Commissioner Dubin?
I guess it's just more of a comment, but it is a question too. I know it's one space per 100. It seems like a lot to me personally. I'm wondering because obviously the Gelson's is gone, so the shop, the grocery store shopping element isn't even in play here for now, and maybe for quite a while in the future. So I'm just curious about the one space per 100. If we're, I know this is sort of a general question. Are we looking to potentially modify that at some point down the road? Anthony, I guess that's maybe a you question.
Yes, I can take that question, Commissioner. The City Council has directed staff to look at potentially revising its parking requirements outside of the downtown specific plan area. That is a component of the comprehensive zoning code update.
Okay.
And the council has further directed that we prioritize that component of the project. So we are looking to move on that fairly quickly.
Okay. In terms of a sign permit, is that coming later, or is that already part of the by right?
The sign permit is subject to the master sign program,
Okay.
which will be coming soon.
But is that going to be handled administratively?
Yeah, it will be handled administratively with the master sign program.
And is there, I didn't see anything on there about a trash location. I'm assuming the whole center probably has accommodation for that somewhere, but I didn't see it on the plan. Since this is an intensification, I imagine there's an intensification of trash as well, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where it is on the site, but I know that there are other food establishments in the plaza where they manage their trash.
Okay.
Yeah, there is trash.
Behind
There are
it.
dumpsters in the alley behind
Okay.
each of those shops.
And is there, as far as the kitchen needs, do we know what the extent of, a frozen yogurt is? Mostly refrigeration and machines that create the yogurt itself. So there's no like stoves and hoods and that kind of, it's not a full kitchen setup. Is that correct?
I think the applicant could
Okay.
verify that to be sure.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Whiten, any questions?
No.
Commissioner Kellenberg?
Just confirming that the shared parking study was done by the city's consultant.
It was peer reviewed by the city's internal consultant.
So it was done by the applicant's consultant, but peer reviewed but reviewed by the city's consultant and they found it valid?
Yes.
Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do with these shared parking studies, I know. And so, okay, thanks.
Commissioner Goldman?
Yeah, one question. I didn't see any restrooms in the plan. Did I miss it, or is the restroom shared in the center?
That's a great point. I think the applicant could answer that as well.
Okay.
Great. I had just a clarification question. I guess it's when it was talking about this, the intensification of use about this project, it said it required approximately 10 spaces, which normally, if it was like a standalone business and it comes out to 9.5, you would just round up or whatever. But in this case, because we have this shared parking agreement, they're figuring out exactly which to a decimal, what the requirement is for each of these businesses and then totaling it all up. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I will open it to the applicant if the applicant is here.
Hello, my name is Spencer Fabian. I'm the owner of Golden Spoon Laguna Beach. Just first off, want to say thank you. It's been a long time coming. And my wife and my daughter clearly are here. And so thank you for letting them in. But we're super excited. And Laguna Beach holds a special place to our heart. We got engaged here. We have every date night here. And so excited to be part of the community. And yes, so.
There was a couple questions there. Could you respond to those? One was regarding with the kitchen itself. Okay, are you going to be serving any other food other than yogurt?
Just the yogurt machines and the refrigeration. You're correct on that. And then as far as there is a shared restroom in the center.
Okay.
And then there's trash cans, several throughout the on the sidewalks that are there for all the businesses.
Curious, where is the restroom? I've never noticed it before.
It is on the left side. It's right next to the cleaners.
Okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Commissioners? Okay, thank you.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
I'll open it to open the public hearing. Are there members of the public who wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close it and go to commissioner comment. Commissioner Dubin, would you like to start this time?
I think I'm going to defer back to staff in terms of I didn't necessarily see in the resolution or conditions of approval as far as keeping this, since this is now a food service business, keeping the sidewalks clean because eventually somebody's going to spill a yogurt on the sidewalk out there. And is there a condition that the owner applicant is responsible for keeping that clean?
So the conditions of approval were
Or we're not really
specifically-
we're dealing with the shared parking, right?
Correct.
Okay.
So the business is permitted by right.
I see. Okay. That's it. I have no more comment.
Commissioner Whiten.
I can make the findings for the coastal development permit and the CUP. We've been waiting a long time for this business. Signs have been up, and I think everybody's anxious to get it in there for first to fill the empty space, but also that will be a popular use in the summer. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of foot traffic from the beach. So that should really start your business off on the right foot. So I can support the project.
Great. Commissioner Kellenberg.
Same here. Thanks.
Commissioner Goldman.
Yeah, I can support the project as well. Good luck. I love the enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I can as well and make the findings for the the CUP and agree with the CEQA exemption. The only tricky part of this project in this area is the shared parking program, and it is what it is. But as was stated already, right now Gelson's isn't there, which is I think they required 200 or 150 spaces or some the majority of the spaces. So without them with them not being there, there's not going to be, parking is certainly not going to be an issue. So I'm willing to support it as well. Can somebody make a motion, please? Oh, and just last comment is I want to agree with Commissioner Dubin's comment that, you know, the supposed intensification of use from a bank use to this frozen yogurt use of going from 3 to 10 spaces seems a little bit questionable to me, but that is what it is.
Well, 10, I'll just comment that, you know, having done a lot of parking work, 10 is the standard for a restaurant for food service. It's been around for like 40 years. So it's not like surprising that it's 1 in 10. That the modification comes from the shared parking program that kind of softens the impact of that, which is the case in this project.
Thank you.
Time for change.
Motion, please.
I'll move to adopt the resolution approving conditional use permit 25-0638 and coastal development permit 25-0667 and finding said action exempt from CEQA.
Is there a second?
I can second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Goldman,
Yes.
Commissioner Whiten,
Yes.
Commissioner Dubin,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Kellenberg,
Yes.
Chair Sadler.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Great luck to you guys. Okay. We will be moving on to our last regular item of the evening, which is item 5.3, which is a request for a temporary use permit and asking the Planning Commission to agree with the CEQA exemption at 725 Laguna Canyon Road, which is a city-owned parking lot. And this is for the Lagadelic, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. Sarah, if you could please give us our staff report.
Item 5.3 is a request for approval of a temporary use permit for a one-day music, food, and art festival called Lagadelic. The proposed festival will be located at 725 Laguna Canyon Road at City Parking Lot 10 within the Arts District of the Downtown Specific Plan area. The surface parking lot contains approximately 63 parking spaces and has historically been approved for temporary use permits such as dedicated summer art festival parking and Christmas tree lots. I'd also like to note that the first event was on Saturday, August 3rd, 2024. The first event was not formally permitted through the city's entitlement process, and staff has confirmed that the Laguna Beach Police Department received 2 calls for service, one of which was a medical emergency and the other was a complaint of loud music prior to 9 p.m. The proposed temporary use would be held on Saturday, June 14th from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. with full cleanup completed by midnight. This would be a ticketed event with a tentative cost of $35 per ticket. The anticipated attendance over the duration of the event will be about 500 people. There will be a security team on site with 8 to 10 security guards at all times to ensure crowd safety, ID checks, and cooperation with rules and policies. An ABC liquor license has been applied for, and liquor will only be sold and served by the restaurants and vendors that will be hosting the event. Transportation will be encouraged by walking, biking, trolley, or the Laguna Beach Local, as it is expected to attract primarily local residents, and any attendees who drive may utilize the existing public parking along Laguna Canyon Road and the adjacent city parking lot 11. Site improvements will include one stage approximately 25 feet long by 18 feet deep and 3.5 feet tall. Easy Up tents will be used for food, beverage, brand activations, and the security and medical area. Site lighting will be limited to the fixtures on the stage, and small battery-powered lighting will be used for vendor tents. Speaker locations will be limited to the stage and will include 4 elevated main speakers and 4 low-end speakers underneath the stage, and generators will be located behind the stage only. There will be 5 porta-johns with 1 ADA compliant unit and hand washing stations. There will be 2 dining areas set with picnic tables. The site will be equipped with security barriers, approximately 90 to 110 linear feet and 4 feet in height. The fencing and barriers will also be in compliance with the required ABC licensing requirements. And signage for the event will consist of Lagadelic banners located on the stage and 1 temporary banner near the entrance. All other signage will be for the vendors and restaurants, and temporary signs for special events may be allowed at the discretion of the Planning Commission. Overall, staff has found the proposed temporary use permit to be consistent with all the required findings and recommends that the Planning Commission by motion adopt the attached resolution and approving the temporary use permit and finding said action exempt from CEQA.
Thank you, Sarah. Any commissioner questions? Commissioner Goldman?
No, the only potential issue I thought was congestion from too many cars. And you addressed that, Sarah. I guess the only question left is how many people is anticipated to attend the event?
It'll be about 500 people throughout the entire duration of the event.
So, I mean, I don't know what assumptions you make. If you assume 250 trips, an average of 2 or so, or are we sure that the parking and all can accommodate and it won't be a traffic nightmare?
I could try to answer that, Commissioner. So this event will fall just before the start of the summer festival season. So I think this area of the city, this area of the downtown specifically, is accustomed to receiving a lot of pedestrian and vehicular traffic. I think the applicant has perhaps smartly timed the event to not coincide with the festivals, which are significant drivers of traffic.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually that's a good point, Anthony. How many people attend the pageant and the Masters?
It's like 2,200 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean this is far less, I guess is the point. So we should be fine.
Related to that question about the size of the crowds, is there a maximum occupancy for an outdoor space? Because I can see that it might expand now that there's already been the first festival. This is the second. So the word will get out. That's a good thing. So, but does the fire department have any guidelines for an outdoor space?
The fire department did receive the application. They did not give us any concerns regarding the occupancy. And the building division also reviewed from a safety perspective and did not raise any concerns regarding occupancy.
Okay. I could imagine it might be very popular, more than 500 people popular. But I guess if there are no restrictions on the size and there's security provided, that's been addressed. All right, I'll ask the applicant about, this event is partnered with and I'm not certain about this pronunciation, the Molly Ola Foundation, which is a nonprofit foundation. And is this really more of a fundraiser for the foundation? We'll ask, maybe the applicant can address that. The signs are huge, but then again, this is a temporary event. It looks from the photos in the application that the signs are being recycled. In other words, they already exist and maybe they're being recycled. Maybe the applicant could address that for us too, because on one hand, don't want to be wasteful, and yet on the other hand, those are pretty big signs. Because these banners here are 10 feet roughly, and 20 feet, would take you down to the monitor. So we got some big signs. Okay, those are my questions for now.
Commissioner Dubin?
Yeah, outside the prescribed signs, I saw that there was some other potential temporary signs. Are we talking like things that are being stuck on telephone poles around town, or what does that entail?
The signage for the venue would just be limited to those that are attending, like the restaurants or the, the brand activation tents. And it would just be limited to their tents.
And the 10 by 20-foot sign, is that going to be at the entrance or is that on the stage or where is that? It
They
doesn't
will
really-
be mounted to the stage, and then there will also be one mounted to it'll be inside the venue, mounted to one of the barriers that separates the artist-only zone from general admission.
Okay. And then there was a little conflict on the closing hours. It said 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. and I read somewhere it also said 12 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. So which one is it?
So the festival the music will end at 9:30.
Okay.
But the festival will end at 10.
So I'll give half an hour for people to
Yeah.
exit the venue, I see. Is there any liability insurance that's required for this TUP?
I'm not
That c-
aware of any requirements. Perhaps the applicant could
Okay.
elaborate on that.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on the liability question. The site is being leased from the city for this event. And so is the city liable for, maybe our attorney can address this?
So, I mean, no, I would take let me back up. First, anyone can sue the city, unfortunately, for anything. As it pertains to a leased premises, the actions of, in this instance, the lessee are not necessarily imputed to the city, such that if they are there and do something negligent, if they hang their sign wrong, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, if there is a kind of potential, not that we're aware of, latent defect of a dangerous condition of public property, and someone is on there and slips or something does that like that, I can't sit up here and unequivocally say that no, the city would not be sued and would not have any liability. However, that question about proper insurance for an event like this is astute. I'm feverishly typing to see if there's anything in there, and by the time it comes back to deliberations, I'll have a stronger answer for you.
Thank you.
I had one other quick question. Is the alcohol service as a beer and wine only? Or is it actually going to be hard alcohol as well?
I think the applicant could
Okay,
elaborate on that.
thank you.
Commissioner Kallenberg.
Sarah, what is the staff's opinion on the noise issue?
Well, they're allowed amplified music until 9 p.m. But the Planning Commission has the discretion to modify those hours for a temporary event.
I'm not really taking issue with the hours, but the previous event, there was evidently at least one complaint. I mean, this is down in a canyon. Noise goes up. The canyon topography is going to amplify the noise. Undoubtedly, there are criteria that have been set for outdoor concerts in residential areas elsewhere, decibel levels that cannot be exceeded. I'm just curious if the staff has discussed a decibel level limit, for the event.
We have not, Commissioner. The conditions of approval do give both the police department and code enforcement staff the complete authority to use their discretion and require that the volume be turned down if it's deemed to be a nuisance to the neighborhood.
Okay.
I had a couple questions for staff. There was some discussion about the review by the police department and others, the building department, and one of the conditions, or from a suggestion from the police department, which the applicant has agreed to, was that they would have 8 to 10 security guards on site. And somewhere else in the staff report, it said that was all covered in conditions 23 through 25, but I didn't see any specific mention of that. Do you feel that that's necessary to add as a condition, or the agreement between the police department and the applicant is adequate as is?
I mean, the applicant agreed to have 8 to 10 on site, and we added it as a condition of approval just for
It's
extra coverage.
Well, it hasn't been added as a condition of approval. It's not specifically added.
So, I mean, it could be added, yes.
Okay, then maybe I would suggest that maybe that be done. The only other thing, and this goes to noise and that, and I just heard you mention something about amplified music would stop at 9 p.m., but then I thought you earlier said 9:30. Is it amplified music stops at 9 p.m. and then non-amplified music can continue till 9:30 and then the festival closes at 10?
Per code, you're allowed to have amplified music until 9. The applicant is proposing to have it until 9:30, which can be approved at the Planning Commission's discretion. I think Anthony could probably clarify if non-amplified music could go on.
Okay, so they're asking us to kind of give some extra leeway here from the typical 9 p.m. cutoff to go till 9:30.
Correct.
Okay. And the other thing that was a little confusing to me from reading the staff report was this reference to the earlier last year's festival. And I'm like, I don't remember this happening, in the canyon or this location. And then after doing a little bit more research, figured out that it didn't happen at this location. It happened elsewhere. It happened at the neighborhood congregational church. And then the staff report seems to imply, by saying that the event, last year's event was not permitted through the city's entitlement process, that it should have been. But did it need to? I mean, when it's happening, it was happening within a church like that. Are they required to get a TUP to have a music event within their property?
So it was originally applied for at a director level temporary use permit within the parking lot of the Women's Club. That permit did not move forward, and the festival ended up occurring at the neighborhood congregational church in the parking lot.
So should that have gone through a city entitlement process?
Yes, Chair. It would have required a temporary use permit. It should have gone through that process.
Because it's outside, or because I know other churches have music all the time within the walls of their church, and you have visiting groups and things like that. Those don't typically, I would think, require a temporary use permit.
With this being not specifically directly related to the permitted religious institution activities that the premises is approved for, this would fall outside the bounds of either the conditional use permit or the use that's permitted by right for the site, but can be authorized with a temporary use permit.
Okay. And I guess last question is, has the city thought about at all the issue of non-compliance with any of these hours or something like that? For example, the city of Indio and Coachella Music Festival out there, they've got a hard curfew, and they'll pull the plug on the main stage if somebody tries to go past that curfew, and there are significant fines for going past a curfew. Does the city have any such policy, or have they considered any such policy?
Not that I'm aware of, Chair.
Okay. That answers my questions. Any other questions, anyone? Nope. Okay. To the applicant team, if you guys would like to come forward, you can, if it's more comfortable, you can sit at the table and you can use that microphone, or you can stand at the podium, whatever you want.
Hey, my name is Jay Gallagher. I'm the event coordinator for Lagadelic. First off, I want to thank Sarah so much for helping us through this process. It's been a big learning curve, but we're excited to bring it to fruition this summer and get the community fired up on this event. Just to address some of your questions, I remember the first one was the congestion from traffic on the 133. Like Sarah said in her presentation, a lot of the people attending this festival are going to be locals. And what we saw last year was a lot of people were using the rideshare programs, the trolley, walking, biking. I mean, it's a small town, so people can get around. And we're expecting a lot of the same for this year's event. Another question was the signs. I think you had a question about will they be recycled? Am I correct?
No, in your application, there were pictures of the signs.
Yes.
I couldn't tell if those existed Or it was a Photoshop version of a drawing or what it was?
Yeah, so that was last year's artwork.
Yeah.
Those were last year's banners. We're still in the process of finalizing the artwork for this year, so those designs have not been, fully done yet, but they will be very similar to that.
Okay, and will it be that configuration at the stage with the big sign at the back to separate the two areas?
Yes.
And then the side panels?
Yes, that is what we're planning. And just to add on to that, I know sometimes wind can be, a concern when you have big banners hanging, especially on a big truss like that. We are getting banners made that have like these aeration holes in it, so wind can flow freely through them. It's the same banners you see on any other like main festival stage.
There was a question about the exact connection between you and the Maoli Ola Foundation and whether there was something in the staff report that they were facilitating your liquor license. Is
Yes.
that the extent of your connection with them?
So a lot of people who are involved with the Malleola Foundation are just good friends of ours, and we fully have supported that foundation forever. I mean, they get kids in the water with cystic fibrosis and get them surfing and get them stoked. So that's something that we've kind of always been about. As for their involvement with the event, they will be holding the ABC license because the ABC does require a nonprofit to hold that. And they will also be doing a brand activation there. So they'll be coming out, having some of the members on their team talking to people, getting them fired up, handing out promotional items, merchandise, stuff like that.
It's not a fundraiser though.
Not per se, but when you said, will the signs be recycled? I kind of sparked an idea. It'd be sick to like auction off those banners for this year and then like figure out a way to donate that to Malleola or something. Yeah, because we were definitely thinking of how we could, give back to the Malleola Foundation, and budget's tight, and we want to figure out a way to do that. And I think that's a good idea. So thank you for planting that seed.
Did we get the thing regarding the hours and the music correct? Is that what your request is? That amplified music till 9:30?
Yes.
And then 30 minutes basically for the crowd to thin out and go away and close at 10?
Exactly. And it'll be a hard cut at 9:30. We have all of our set times planned out. We've run kind of smaller events like this before, just kind of in established venues. And we're confident that we can keep everybody on a schedule and make sure that, everything's going to plan on time.
Okay, good. Because one of us might be down there ready to pull that.
Of course, yeah. You guys are full reign.
You could look across the street for your third annual.
Yes. At the pageant, you're saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it beer and wine only? Or-
Yes. So we do have we have a special use permit, I believe it's called, and that does allow for beer and wine and liquor.
Okay. And you're planning on doing that?
Yes, that's the plan.
Okay. Who are some of the bands?
So so the lineup right now is Swimmers. They're a sweet band out of Orange County. We have Spliff Riff, which is a local band. We have the Alive, ripping kids from town. And then we brought in some of our other friends. We have I Forget, Eighth Ball, and Gingsu.
Okay.
And all of those bands have been like blowing up in the underground scene around here. And I just think like live music's making a comeback, especially in Laguna. And we just want to make it happen, get the community fired up on the youth.
So is there any, that's great. Is there any liability insurance or anything that you've been requested to take out to cover, at least in a general sense, cover the city from any potential liabilities?
So that wasn't requested of us to get that, but we were planning on getting just like a general liability insurance the entire time. That's what we got last year, and this year we're most likely going to do it through the same company, which was Aventured.
Okay. That's it.
Commissioner Kellenberg?
So I'm going to be kind of a deadbeat here, I guess.
All right. It's got to be one of you. At least.
I'm the only one that seems to be worried about noise, and this could get cranked up pretty loud, and this is the canyon situation is just going to amplify this, fairly dramatically to the adjacent. There's residential neighborhoods on both hills above you. Would you be adverse to setting a noise limit? Typically on a outdoor venue, it's not uncommon to set a 90 decibel noise limit at the edge of the performance grounds. Would that be, and I mean, I can measure that on my phone. I mean, it's a very easy thing to measure. Would you be open to setting a noise limit like that?
Yeah, so we will have a sound engineer that will be on site the entire day, managing the entire sound system. That's Sean from Beeline Sound Co. He's very well seasoned in doing events like this, and he's done it in many cities with requests like that to keep the noise at a certain level. So I'm sure that will be no problem.
So you wouldn't mind a condition like that?
You said 90 decibels?
90 decibels at the edge of the performance venue, at the outer limit, at the farthest distance from the stage, at the venue.
Okay, I will say, going off of noise being amplified in the canyon, it is a good spot for that because it's right where it funnels outward, and where we're positioning the stage, it's going to be facing like west-northwest, so it will be pushing out of the canyon, and it'll be very limited to bouncing off the sides because all of the sound will be projected out towards the
So
beach.
then you wouldn't mind that condition?
Yeah, I think if that was the only way that we were able to get it approved, I think we could do that. What's the leeway on that? Is there like a 5 decibel,
I think,
it's important. If it's a condition, then we're.
I'm not going to go down there and stand there the whole
Yeah.
time, but I think I think it's an honor system self-monitoring thing. But no, the sound is going to be very variable, right? It's going to go all over the place. But the goal would be to try and keep it not exceeding 90 decibels most of the time.
I think, we're dealing with this and another, with the Irvine Bowl has recently, been a subject of, why are we not using it more and more and more for concerts? And they had arbitrarily set like a 70 decibel limit on things there, which pretty much excludes anything but acoustic music, So I think to answer, sort of dive into that, is there a little leeway? I think they were looking at 95 as sort of their upper limit in terms of decibel limitation. So
Okay.
I'm open to 95, and I'll even throw in after 6 o'clock.
Wow. Okay. You're not the fuddy-duddy I thought you were.
I do know, just as a general rule for venues in town and just music events like this, it's typically like 100 decibels with certain spikes of 105 decibels. So that's kind of what we were, not going above 100, maybe a spike at 105, but we were aware of that, but 90 was definitely.
I mean, you have to keep in mind decibels, it's not linear. Decibels are exponential increases.
Right.
So the difference between 90 and 105 isn't like 15%,
No,
it's
it's a
like
lot.
100%
Yeah.
or 150%.
I would be, I would give it 95 as sort of the common ground sort of thing, if that works for you guys. Steve, are you?
Yeah, I'm
Well,
happy with
we're
that.
not finalizing any decision here right now.
course.
We're throwing out ideas.
No,
and, we'll
but
see
I
if there's
think asking the applicant if they're open to an idea is not out of line. The question.
Absolutely, but we're not finalizing it right now. So, thank you. Commissioner Goldman, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions on anything everything's been covered.
Okay, thank you very much. I will open the public hearing to any members of the public who wish to speak on this item. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and we will go to commissioner discussion. Commissioner Goldman, you want to start again?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So I think I'm supportive of this, as long as, and Patrick, you'll answer the question, as long as it's not exposing the city to any liabilities and it's appropriately insured. To Commissioner Kellenberg's comments, I think as a practical matter, it's probably going to be a nightmare for people in the canyon. Just having people come and go in that period of time, and the noise, etc. But I look at this almost as the greater good. I think it's good for the community. I think it's great to encourage live music, and if it doesn't work at this venue next year, it can go somewhere else. I'm supportive of it, recognizing that it is probably going to cause an inconvenience to the people in the canyon. I'm sorry about that, but it's one night, and if it was a terrible thing and we won't do it in this, won't happen in this venue next year, and hopefully it encourages this to go on as an annual event elsewhere.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Kellenberg.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm for it. And I think I've already stated my, my only concern. And if we can, I would like to, if whoever's making the motion, if it's me, I would propose a couple conditions, one that would require liability insurance, and the second that would require a monitoring of the edge of the venue to not exceed 95 decibels.
Thank you, Commissioner Whiten.
Yeah, I support it also. I agree with Commissioner Goldman on the decibel level. This is a one-time event. It's not that large. It's in a pretty protected area. There's a bit of an overhang there. And, we need some energy in this town. We need, something happening here. And I'm just not going to lose sleep over a little noise. I think it's healthy. I think it's real, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So I agree with the liability insurance condition, and it sounds as though the applicant was intending to do that anyway, but we should condition it.
Commissioner Dubin.
Yeah, by the way, I live in the canyon. I'm inconvenienced every single day. So,
What's
yeah,
one more thing?
yeah, and the summer, with the festivals going on, three festivals in the canyon, it's pretty much a nightmare all the time. So that doesn't bother me at all, because I'm kind of used to dealing with traffic and whatever. So I agree with Commissioner White, and I really feel that the city needs more of this type of stuff happening. We've kind of gone to sleep for a while, and I think revitalizing these types of events and allowing them to happen and embracing them too, like instead of making it so difficult for them to ever happen, we need to kind of relax and remember that we're supposed to be a creative community that embraces music and art and performance of all kinds. So yeah, and as far as the decibel level, I know that sound does travel up. I was at an event at 7 Degrees that had DJs playing on the upper deck, which is right next door to where you guys are, and they allowed that to go on till 10:30 or something, before any of the neighbors would complain who are above that. But I feel like we've gotten so restrictive in this town in terms of allowing these kinds of things to happen, or putting so many restrictions on them that they can never happen. So, to inconvenience a couple of neighbors up above on a Saturday up until 9:30 just doesn't seem like something that we should, a roadblock up for these kind of things. So I'm very much for it. So that's my comment.
Great, thank you. Do you agree with the condition to add for the liability insurance?
Yes, of course, yeah.
Okay, and I agree with that condition as well, and I'm fully supportive of this project. Your timing is right on. If you were trying to do this while the other festivals and pageant was going on, that would not be a great idea. Saying that, oh, hey, we have this adjacent parking lot, I think it's 111, that's right adjacent to this parking lot, where it'll be primarily empty because the other festivals are not going on. So that'll give an opportunity for parking and all that. I agree with, when I was looking at I wasn't sure about the exact site layout you guys were proposing until I saw that tonight. And I agree with the way that you've got the stage oriented. It seems to be heading out down the canyon towards the ocean. So it's not going to necessarily project it directly into the canyon walls and bounce back and forth. Yes, there are residences up above, but they're significantly up above. And I think we already are adding a condition that both the police department and the director of community development or the community development department has the authority to crack down on you guys if it seems as though the noise is getting too loud, to set an exact decibel level. Again, I think it would end up having to be it would be a complaint-driven thing, which same thing, but in a lot of cases with getting either the police or the city involved, it's going to be based on a complaint. And then if there was a complaint, then what? Is somebody going to go out there with the decibel meter and see whether or not you're exceeding it? So I just think with the condition that's currently in there, that adequately covers it. So, and, again, 9:30 is not going till midnight or something like that for an outdoor venue like this. So I'm supportive, and if somebody would please make a motion. Yes.
I just want to provide some language for that. I can count
Sure.
for the insurance. So it would be insurance in both form and amount satisfactory to the city attorney's office shall be provided to the city prior to the event.
Sounds perfect. All right. Will somebody make a motion with that additional condition added?
I move to adopt resolution approving temporary use permit 25-0390 and finding said action exempt from CEQA with the inclusion of the insurance condition, as well as the condition that the event will try to not exceed 95 decibels.
I don't want to do that.
Which part?
I don't want a decibel level.
Okay, we'll scratch that condition.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Goldman,
Yes.
Commissioner Whiten,
Yep.
Commissioner Dubin,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Kellenberg,
No.
Chair Sadler.
Yes. All right. Motion passes 4-1. Congratulations. Anybody who doesn't agree with that has a 14-day right of appeal to the city council. But good luck.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
95 decibels, by the way, is loud.
No, I know.
That's quite loud. It's not like you're forcing them to do acoustic.
No.
All right. Moving on to other business, if there is any.
There is no other business, Chair.
Oh, I'd just like to thank you, Anthony, for giving us the update on construction around town. It was greatly appreciated. Any commissioner, committee, or staff? Oh, hey, another question. One more. Well, I'll move on to this. Committee, commissioner, and staff reports.
I just want to give you an update on the ad hoc committee that was assigned to the Fire Station 4. We had quite a large gathering on site with the neighborhood, the architect, Tom Perez, and Steve and myself. We've had a second meeting here in City Hall with a smaller group, which was also inclusive of the architect and Tom, because there was a lot of feedback that was given on site from the neighborhood. There was, inspiration boards put up that people could comment on. And so they've taken all that feedback and are taking it in. And I think sometime next week, we will meet again, probably a smaller group, to look at some sketches and see if where we're at in terms of progress in the sort of revamping the design. Steve and I also met with the South Laguna Civic Organization president and a couple of other neighbors yesterday again. And I met personally with Chief King and Battalion Chief Hill earlier this week to get some input from Chief King in terms of, what are the absolute necessary things in terms of what they need, so that we're not making design modifications that are affecting functionality. So that's kind of the update.
Have you gotten any?
Actually,
Go ahead.
if I can add to that, George.
Yeah, of course.
I think to the other commissioners, when we ultimately have our hearing on this, the topic that will probably get the most conversation in terms of I can't think of the right word, in terms of an alternative scheme coming from the Civic Center and some of the neighbors in South Laguna, is to take the fire station off of Coast Highway and orient it towards the back of the site. And the conversations we've had with them, they asked us if we could pause the process to allow for an alternative plan. And where I think we're moving towards is we're hearing from the fire department that a very important criteria is the pull through. And that alternative doesn't allow for the pull through. So, I think where we tend to be leaning is to focus on the current plan and focus on the massing and the aesthetics of it, and some of the other comments that Steve articulated when we had our last meeting. But I think there, at our next meeting, there will be some conversation about looking at alternative plans that take the fire station off of Coast Highway.
And so, Chair, I do apologize. Obviously, this update is entirely fine. I want to be sure we can receive updates from the working group, so to speak, but we shouldn't get into at least a third talking about the merits and directing anything outside of a publicly noticed meeting. As I said before, update is fine. I would advise against any future deliberations as a body as a whole. Thank you, Chair.
Gotcha. Other than this is just a general question, does either of you or now have any sense of the timing of anything and when it may be coming back to us?
Well, I think whatever we continued it was May 20th or
21, yeah.
I think was when it's formally going to come back to the commission for a second review, I guess, or potential approval.
Anthony?
Which I don't know, Anthony, what the notice periods. I think it will be tight. They're planning on getting there, but it seems like it will be tight.
When the commission last heard this project, it was continued to a date certain, so there will not be any further public noticing other than the posting of the agenda. The continuance date is May 21st.
May 21st.
May 21st, okay. And on a kind of a related issue, I was looking at the administrative design review agenda for earlier today, and there was an item on there about the Director of Community Development approving the demolition for the site, and that had been withdrawn. And I'm assuming that that's withdrawn because the project design is still in flux.
It is no longer going to be separated from the design of the fire station itself. The application on this afternoon's admin DR agenda was for the demolition of the existing structure.
Right. Okay. And that kind of surprised me a little bit. Is that part of our streamlining process now that the Director of Community Development has been given that authority? Is that something that the Planning Commission used to do for a demolition like this?
Because that request does not trigger a design review requirement, the application simply requires a coastal development permit. And in those situations, that becomes an administrative coastal development permit application, which is typically considered at an administrative hearing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and if I may, there was conversations in one of our meeting about the timing of demolition. And I think there may have been some consideration of neighborhood impact on the timing of that.
Right. And also, because I think when I was reading the item, it was talking about the demolition of the building, but it's also talking about some associated work with the surrounding infrastructure, meaning the sidewalks and curbs and things like that, which could potentially change from what was originally proposed. So anyhow, okay. Anybody else want to add anything else, or are we ready for adjournment?
I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, somebody, when is our next meeting?
May 7th, 2025.
I move we adjourn to our next regularly scheduled meeting on May 7th, 2025 at 6 p.m.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner
Yes.
Goldman?
Yes.
Commissioner Whiten?
Yes.
Commissioner Dubin?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Kellenberg?
Yes.
Chair Sadler?
Yes, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, see you in person on the 7th.